Oh, that's new intro music.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you into the mood of the Keystone Cops era, Dave.
The Keystone Cops?
Yeah,
perfect.
around 1900 or somewhere around there.
That's perfect for our theme. The Keystone Cops, if you don't know, they were fictional, humorously incompetent policemen featured in the silent film slapstick comedies produced by Max Sennett for his Keystone Film Company way back in the teens. I thought they were great when I was a kid. I used to watch them all the time. But of course, we're no longer kids. We're now living in the 21st century, and we have the same stories of the Keystone Cops. Well, maybe not the same. Maybe a little more.
They're a little bit more disturbing.
A little more edgy. Okay,
edgy. Okay, edgy.
No, we'll say disturbing. I like disturbing. Anyway, this is today's podcast, which we've titled "Keystone Cops. Did a cop really do that?" This is Inside the Line, real stories by real cops. I'm Dave Rattigan, with me, Dale Lawrence, and joining us, as he frequently does, our guest, Nathan Arroyo, comedian, voice guy, funny person. Apparently, the Talk of Silence movies was.
He's in the silent movie era already.
He's in the zone of the silent movies. That would be so pleasant if it was for like the entire ride going up to a gig in Maine. Anyway, Nathan, how you doing?
Good.
It's very loquacious. We should plug this. What's our insidetheline.org?
Yep,
Real stories by real cops at gmail.com. Let us know what you like. Give us suggestions for future podcasts, and share if you like us, because we're trying to build an audience so that eventually we can make a lot of money like Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, that's a stretch, but it's something to strive for.
So cops are known for a certain sense of humor, which is, dark humor. And I think, as we talked about, sometimes cops just screw up. And
cops laugh at each other all the time.
It's always funny if somebody else does it.
Absolutely. But one thing you got to know as a cop, that you laugh at your partner or someone else, you could be on center stage within hours or the next day or the next week. So you really got to watch what you laugh at.
There's a lot of judgment calls, and there's a lot of, let's say, unsupervised time.
Unsupervised time really gds cops in trouble.
Which is, by the way, speaking of unsupervised time, we're going to start with this. Sex on duty. Here's one from Madison, Wisconsin, where there used to be I knew somebody who used to work in Madison, Wisconsin.
Really? Well, we got a little audio. We have a little audio that we were able to get from Madison, Wisconsin. So listen up.
The Madison Police Department has opened an investigation after video surfaced.
If we can't do it, what gives him the right to do it?
I'm not sure if he's talking about having sex with a white girl or having sex in general.
It could have been, I was trying to figure out what he meant by the white leg. The two white legs go up, and I'm thinking either maybe somebody, I don't know, didn't get enough sun, or maybe they were leggings.
Well, the most important thing about this story is that the lieutenant from the Madison, Wisconsin Police Department that was he was caught, and he went to a hearing, and he resigned over it. Yeah, but he apologized. So in my book, he's all right.
Did that guy say he thought he was what? He didn't know what was going on.
The guy who was filming it, he wasn't sure.
I don't know. I don't know what was going on. It's interesting you wouldn't know what was going on in that situation. I don't know. I would not have, if I was that police lieutenant, I wouldn't have apologized. I would have just denied. Say I was trying to apprehend the suspect.
Yeah.
And
she wrapped her legs around me, and one thing led to another. And then, maybe he can cry that he was assaulted by her. Yeah, flip the switch on that one.
That's a good point. You never know. And then somehow she got away. She got away.
No one knows her name.
Yeah, nobody. But we know she's from out of town. Isn't that the thing you always say? Yeah, we don't know who she is, but she's from out of town.
The thing about that is, obviously it's against every department policy across the U.S. I would assume it is,
and it happens all. Well,
it's I don't know how common it is necessarily, but it happens.
How many times have you had sex in your cruiser? I know
by myself or with someone.
I know you're a married guy. Let me ask you this. When you were dating the woman who's now your wife,
Yeah.
all right, how many times did you have sex in the cruiser?
No, I can honestly say none.
She would have to know.
Yeah.
She would have to know, tell.
None. It's not. I don't think it's that common sex in a cruiser.
Oh,
now
you don't think
sex
it's
on duty, maybe outside of a cruiser. We might be getting into that momentarily. I think that might be more
outside
common.
of a cruiser, like what? Like outside the cruiser, like pulling you onto a dark street and
Maybe just pulling into someone's house, your partner's house, or your friend's house who's away on vacation, or something like that. But it's not illegal though. But if just give you hypothetically, this lieutenant's having sex in a parking lot, and a lady goes by with her, I don't know, 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And the 12-year-old daughter happens to see them having sex, and he sees,
I don't know what that
and
is.
he sees some sexual organs.
Does she say if we can't do it, what gives him the right to do it?
He could be you could be charged with like an indecent exposure.
Yeah,
You could be. Yeah, absolutely, you can be.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it's the same as if Nathan was out having sex in a public place, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you do that a lot, Nathan.
Mostly by myself, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to point out, Dale already did that joke.
I know, but in this case, I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's
what do you
theme
call
among-
that joke?
It's a theme among comedians and podcasters.
Stealing jokes? What is he? Is he a joke thief?
No, it's not a joke thief. It's having sex alone, which unfortunately. Anyway, so Dale, do you have a story about that?
There is a story. I'm going to kind of be vague because I wouldn't want to bring up any bad feelings amongst someone who may be listening to the podcast. Because it was kind of a common knowledge story within a local department in which an officer on a department met a stripper. Okay. I think she was probably hanging out at a local 24-hour convenience store.
Okay.
So she came in, he met her.
So far, I like the story.
They became friends.
Was she delivering pizza for the
No,
convenience
she was
store?
coming back from her, like 2 a.m, coming back from her strip shows.
Okay. Coming back from her strip show? Is that what you call it now?
Strip show,
The
strip club, whatever.
Is it a burlesque? Are you like
She had like
a fan
about
of burlesque?
$500 in $1 bills in her pocket.
Okay.
So the cop befriended her.
So you met this woman.
No, not me. So the cop befriended her.
All right, you met her?
One thing led to another, and they had sex. And I guess she enjoyed sex with the police officer, so she continued to come to that convenience store, and she met 3 other police officers and had sex with 3. So now she's got a head count of 4.
Wow.
And obviously, I think on the 4th one, things went bad.
How come?
Well, I don't know. I guess that type of girl probably has some mental health issues.
All right.
And one thing led to another, and she filed a complaint with the chief of that police department. There was a big investigation, and all sorts of stuff came out.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to leave it at that because it's a local police
no.
department.
Why would you leave it at that?
Well,
That's
the
a
odds of
great
the stripper
story. The
listening to this
story's just
podcast
good.
are pretty good.
That was an excellent story, and you ended it right at the good part.
So the moral of that story is, if you're a cop and you're working the midnight shift and you're at an all-night grocery store and a stripper comes in, just shake her hand, and that's about as far as you want to go with it.
Oh, you want to shake her hand? Is that what you're thinking of?
Maybe not shake her hand.
That's a weird one. But
Well, it's weird to you, Dave, but in the law enforcement realm, it's relatively common, especially if you're a cop that actually works in a town that has a strip club.
all right.
A part of it. So the cops do private details there.
Oh, well, that's a different story. I mean, if you do a detail anywhere,
Yeah.
there's a good chance you might have a relationship with a bartender or a waitress or somebody who works there. So why wouldn't you have a relationship with a stripper?
It's probably just easier to have it with a stripper because they're probably fragile young ladies, easily manipulated into bad stuff.
Easily manipulated into bad stuff? Oh, I'm sure that cops could manipulate a lot of women into bad stuff.
Anyway, Nate, you ever met any strippers at your comedy shows?
No. Strippers don't like comedians.
Oh, they don't?
Yeah,
But comedians love strippers.
Yeah, comedians love strippers, but strippers look at comedians and say they don't make enough money.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, and they don't wear uniforms. It's the cops and the UPS guys get all the girls. The San Antonio, the next story, San Antonio police, they fired 2 East Side officers last year. This is 2020 after an investigation by Internal Affairs, determined that they repeatedly disabled their GPS units on the patrol vehicles and engaged in sexual misconduct with one another while on duty.
There you go.
And this is the other thing. It's the while on duty part. I mean, if these cops with the strippers had sex, they had sex on duty, right? That was during the shift?
Yes.
And so for her, the idea of for whatever was going on, it was happening on duty, and that's really the problem. If a cop decides to have sex with anybody they want outside, well, not anybody they want, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
If
within legal age limits, Dave.
If a cop has consensual sex with a woman of the proper age on their own time, and they do it indoors, where nobody's going to have to see
It's probably
them.
not a problem. Now, let me just change that scenario a little bit. You're a cop, you go to a call as a domestic situation, you befriend the female in that domestic situation, and a month later you're having sex with her. That's probably going to be a policy issue that you shouldn't have sex with domestic violence victims, that you are the cop on the call.
Right. And because
you would, I don't think you'd be fired for that, but you could be suspended.
why would that happen? First of all,
Why not?
Why would what happen?
why would a cop who answers a domestic violence call inject himself into a potentially dangerous situation that's dangerous for him,
Well, Dave,
dangerous for her?
You ever heard of that drug? There's a new drug out there called SEX, baby. Once you take one, you're going to take it again. You're addicted and you're hooked, brother. That's it.
I don't know what that is, so I'm protected. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about these two East Side officers in San Antonio, and they got busted because they were having sex together while on duty.
I guess they were first probably noticed initially was you get sent to a call,
Yeah.
and if they know where your GPS is and you're 5 minutes from the call, then you should get there in 5 minutes.
Right.
So at 1 or 2 points when they were having sex, they were 5 minutes from the call, and it took them 15 minutes to get there.
And that's how they knew about the GPS, but they knew about the affair because one of the officers' wives.
She was a cop too.
She was a cop too.
Yeah, it was that bad scenario, brother.
Right, that's quite a triangle.
Yeah, she must have had some spyware on his phone.
Okay.
And all his text messages went to her computer, and she was able to read all the text messages and find out what was going on. Now, I just so happen to have a copy of some of those text messages, and Nathan has the best reading skills here, so he's going to give us a little info on what they might have said.
All right, these are actual text messages read by Nathan.
Yep. All right. This is the female cop to the male cop. You may need to give me that dick at work. I'm craving you. Again, the female to the male. I'm waiting for you on the sofa in the living room. This is the male cop's response. I'm stuck at scene. Guy died from gunshot wound.
So there was like 100 text messages that were actually turned over.
And those were the best ones you could find?
Those were ones that were right in Nathan's reading group.
Oh,
some of the words in there were pretty simple for him.
they're simple.
Fifth grade level.
Yeah,
grade level.
One syllable words. That's fascinating. So a lot went wrong in this case.
Yeah, it could have gone really wrong because you have 3 cops. They all have guns. It's a marriage gone wrong. Obviously, the cop who had all the text messages, she could have snapped and started shooting people, but she handled it more maturely. She brought all the information to Internal Affairs. There was an investigation. During the investigation, the 2 cops who were involved in the affair, having sex on duty, they lied. They admitted to turning off the GPS, and ultimately they were fired, which is probably the best thing to do.
You mean first they lied and then they admitted to the GPS?
Well, I guess they lied through the whole investigation.
Okay.
That the text messages were just sexting each other.
Oh, the idea that they were sending the messages, but they weren't actually completing the act.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were fooling around.
Yeah, I'm just kidding, Dave. I'm just kidding.
That would explain the message that you sent to me last night.
Which was?
The picture was gross. So, Dale, do you have any other stories about this kind of thing?
Oh, well, this is, I think it's very funny, but I guess if you're the victim in this case, you're probably not going to think it's funny.
Okay.
Local police department on the North Shore. Well, I can give the name out because it was in the newspaper. Salem Police Department a few years ago. The chief's husband was working at the station. It was Halloween night.